Mr. Thompson, a retired school teacher, stood at the entrance of the small cottage he had just inherited from his grandmother. It was a quaint structure nestled in a quiet village surrounded by tall ancient trees that whispered secrets of the past. The cottage, with its faded white paint and overgrown garden, held countless memories of his childhood. The scent of blooming flowers mingled with the fresh countryside air, bringing a sense of peace and nostalgia. As he stepped inside, the old wooden floorboards creaked under his weight. The living room was exactly as he remembered, a tapestry of vintage decor that echoed his grandmother's timeless style. An old armchair, worn but comfortable, sat in one corner, while a lace curtain partially obscured the view of the garden outside. The room was filled with a collection of antique pieces, a Victorian era lamp, a grandfather clock that had stopped ticking long ago, and shelves filled with decorations and souvenirs. Mr. Thompson had always admired his grandmother's eye for design, but he knew the cottage needed some refurbishment. He decided to honor her love for vintage decor but with a contemporary twist. The first step in his transformation would be the centerpiece of the living room, an epoxy table filled with preserved flowers and lace. He envisioned a table that would blend the old with the new, creating a seamless fusion of eras. The idea of an epoxy table intrigued him. It was modern and sleek, yet he could encapsulate elements of the past, preserving them forever. He began by sourcing materials, spending hours browsing local antique shops and flea markets. He carefully selected delicate lace doilies, vibrant dried flowers, and other small trinkets that reminded him of his grandmother. Back at the cottage, Mr. Thompson cleared a space in the middle of the living room. He set up a workbench and laid out his materials. The first step was to build a wooden frame for the table. He chose a rich walnut wood, its deep hues and natural grain, providing a perfect contrast to the clear epoxy. With meticulous precision, he cut and assembled the frame, sanding it down to a smooth finish. Next came the delicate task of arranging the lace and flowers. He spread the lace doilies across the surface of the table, positioning them in a way that created an intricate flowing pattern. Between the lace, he placed the dried flowers, roses, lavender, and daisies, their colors vibrant and their petals perfectly preserved. He added a few small personal items, a brass key, an old pocket watch, and a locket containing a tiny photograph of his grandmother as a young woman. Once he was satisfied with the arrangement, Mr. Thompson prepared the epoxy resin. He mixed it carefully, following the instructions to ensure the perfect consistency. Pouring the resin was a slow and steady process. He watched as it spread across the surface, encasing the lace, flowers, and trinkets in a clear glass-like finish. The epoxy brought out the details in the lace and the vibrant colors of the flowers, making them appear almost three-dimensional. As the resin cured, he turned his attention to the rest of the living room. The goal was to integrate antique pieces with modern touches, creating a warm and inviting space that felt both timeless and contemporary. He started with the walls, giving them a fresh coat of paint in a soft neutral shade that complemented the natural wood tones of the furniture. He left one wall as an accent, papering it with a vintage floral pattern reminiscent of the garden outside. He decided to keep the old armchair, but had it reupholstered in a modern fabric that still retained a vintage feel. The new fabric was a deep rich green with a subtle floral pattern, a nod to his grandmother's love for nature. He placed a modern floor lamp next to the chair, its sleek design contrasting with the chair's traditional lines, providing a perfect spot for reading. The grandfather's clock was another piece he couldn't bear to part with. It stood majestically in one corner, a silent sentinel of time. He had it cleaned and restored. Its wood polished to a deep shine and had a clockmaker repair the mechanism. The clock's steady ticking now filled the room, a comforting sound that connected past and present. Mr. Thompson also decided to incorporate a few contemporary pieces of art. He chose abstract paintings that used colors and forms echoing the natural elements found in the cottage surroundings. These modern pieces were framed in antique style frames, creating a dialogue between the old and the new. He added a large cozy rug in the center of the room, its geometric pattern and soft texture providing a modern touch while grounding the space. The rug's color tied together the various elements in the room, from the deep green of the armchair to the natural wood tones of the furniture and the vibrant hues of the flowers in the epoxy table. As the final step, he placed the epoxy table in the center of the living room. It was a stunning piece, its surface smooth and glossy, the preserved flowers and lace creating a beautiful intricate pattern. The table was a perfect fusion of vintage charm and contemporary style, and it immediately became the focal point of the room. With the refurbishment complete, Mr. Thompson stood back and surveyed the living room. It was a perfect blend of old and new, a space that honored his grandmother's legacy while reflecting his own taste and sensibilities. The room felt warm and inviting, filled with memories and stories, yet fresh and modern at the same time. He invited a few friends and neighbors over to see the transformation. As they stepped inside, they were immediately drawn to the epoxy table. They marveled at the preserved flowers and lace, and listened as Mr. Thompson shared the story of how he had created it. The table sparked conversations and brought people together just as he had hoped it would. In the evenings, Mr. Thompson would sit in the armchair with a book, the soft light from the floor lamp casting a warm glow across the room. The steady ticking of the grandfather clock and the scent of the dry flowers in the table filled the air. The living room had become a sanctuary, a place where he could relax and reflect on the past while embracing the present. Over time, the cottage became a hub of activity. Friends and family would visit, drawn by the warm and inviting atmosphere. They would gather around the epoxy table, sharing stories and laughter, creating new memories. The cottage, with its perfect blend of vintage and contemporary decor, had become a testament to the enduring power of design to connect generations and create a sense of home. Mr. Thompson continued to add to the living room over the years. He found new pieces at flea markets and antique shops, always looking for items that would complement the existing decor. He added a few more modern touches as well, such as a state-of-the-art sound system discreetly hidden within an antique cabinet and smart lighting that could be adjusted with a touch of a button. One day, as he was browsing an antique shop, he came across a beautiful old mirror with an ornate frame. The mirror was tarnished and the frame was chipped, but he saw its potential. He brought it home, cleaned and restored it, and hung it above the fireplace. The mirror's reflected surface added depth and light to the room, while the intricate frame added another layer of vintage charm. With each new addition, the living room evolved, but the core of the design remained the same. The epoxy table continued to be the heart of the room, a constant reminder of his grandmother's love for vintage decor and his own passion for blending the old with the new. The room was a living, breathing space, constantly changing yet always familiar. As the years went by, Mr. Thompson found himself spending more and more time in the living room. It was a place where he felt connected to his past, surrounded by memories of his grandmother and his own childhood. Yet, it was also a place where he could look forward to the future, knowing that he had created a space that was uniquely his own. The cottage, once a quiet retreat, had become a vibrant home filled with love, laughter and the ever-present hum of life. And at the center of it all was the epoxy table, a beautiful symbol of the perfect blend of old and new, past and present, tradition and innovation. In the end, Mr. Thompson realized that the true beauty of the living room wasn't just in its design, but in the way it brought people together. It was a space where memories were made, where stories were shared, and where the past and present coexisted in perfect harmony. It was a testament to his grandmother's legacy and a reflection of his own journey, a journey that had led him to create a home that was truly timeless. Consider subscribing to the channel for more videos like this.